Welcome back to Quarter Dollar. Today we're diving into 5 staid quarters that look just like the ones sitting in old jars, glove boxes, and kitchen drawers around America. But their values are nothing short of unbelievable. Some of these quarters sold for more than luxury cars. Others reached prices no one ever expected from a simple 25-cent coin. As we move from coin number 5 all the way to the most valuable one on the list, the stories get wilder, the errors get rarer, and the values jump into the kind of 6-figure numbers that make you check your change twice. If you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures and want to stay ahead of the next big coin discovery, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss a life-changing find. Our first state quarter is the 2007 Utah design, and at first glance, this one tells a long story just through its surface. The coin shows heavy circulation wear, the kind that comes from years of passing through pockets, cash registers, car cup holders, and old jars. The high points are smoothed down, the fields carry tiny marks spread across the metal, and patches of dull gray sit around the lettering where the shine has faded. On the obverse, Washington's portrait has lost much of its original sharpness. The ear hair and jawline blend softly into the background, and you can see light corrosion around the edges, especially above Liberty and near the rim. These spots of greenish discoloration are signs of moisture exposure, something that usually happens when a coin sits in damp environments for a long time. Even with all this wear, Utah quarters are known for producing some of the most dramatic and surprising mint errors in the entire state quarter series. What makes the Utah quarter so fascinating is the complexity of its design. The mint used multiple high-pressure strikes to properly capture the details, and whenever pressure increases, so does the risk of dramatic mistakes. And history shows exactly that. Utah has produced off-center strikes, double strikes, feeder finger scrapes, and even a few wrong planche errors. Some of these have sold for unbelievable amounts at auction. Even a mildly off-center Utah quarter in circulated condition can sell for $150 to $300. A more dramatic one, where the design shifts 30% or more, can jump straight past $1,500. But the real headline sales come from double-struck Utah quarters. One example, struck once normally and then struck again at a sharp rotation, stunned collectors when it sold for over $18,000. Another, struck twice with the second strike landing completely outside the border, soared to nearly $30,000. And then there is the rarest category, wrong metal strikes, a Utah quarter, mistakenly struck on a nickel planche or an experimental blank, could easily exceed $75,000, even in a circulated state. If a Utah quarter ever appears struck on a leftover silver planche, something believed technically possible but extremely rare, experts estimate it could reach well over $300,000. That's the kind of number that turns an ordinary-looking coin into a life-changing treasure. Now, looking again at your coin, the heavy wear does not eliminate its potential. Many of the most valuable state quarter errors were not discovered in mint sets. They were found in circulation after years of unnoticed use. In fact, circulated error quarters often bring more attention because they carry a sense of survival. Mistakes that slipped through the cracks and lived in the real world long enough to be recognized decades later. Your Utah quarter has that worn, traveled look. The edge markings show tiny dents and flattening. The reverse surface, with its soft gray tone, suggests this coin lived outdoors or in moist storage for a period of time. And oddly enough, moisture exposure can sometimes reveal subtle doubling or metal flow patterns that collectors overlooked before. The Utah State Quarter was released near the end of the program at a time when collectors were beginning to save fresh rolls. Because of that, major mint errors from these later years are far rarer. Most of the coins were handled carefully or never released into the wild. That means dramatic mistakes like off-center strikes or double strikes appear far less often in the Utah design compared to earlier states. Rarity increases demand, and demand increases price. A Utah quarter with a strong dramatic error could easily be one of the most valuable state quarter discoveries of the last decade. Even without a dramatic error, high-grade Utah quarters can bring surprising amounts. An MS-68 Utah quarter can sell for $1,000 to $3,000 today. An MS-69 example, if one ever appears, might break into 5 figures simply because the design is difficult to strike perfectly. Combine that with a major error, and suddenly you're looking at a coin capable of reaching 6 figures, even pushing beyond $300,000 in the right conditions. What makes this coin exciting for collectors age 50 to 75 is the emotional connection. Many remember the state quarter program well. It was a national event, a hobby for millions of families, a moment when the country came together over simple pocket change. And now, years later, some of those same coins are breaking price records. The idea that a Utah quarter, something people once collected casually, might be worth a fortune adds thrill, nostalgia, and curiosity all at once. So as we begin this countdown, this worn Utah quarter stands as a perfect example. A coin that looks ordinary but carries the possibility of something extraordinary. The next coins will push that excitement even higher. Ready for the next one? Next up, we have a coin that surprises a lot of collectors because it looks so ordinary at first glance, yet the right version of it can send shockwaves through the coin world. And this 2008 Alaska State quarter may look worn, may look handled, and definitely shows the signs of years in circulation, but don't let that fool you. Coins like this have shocked collectors before, and if you ever needed a reminder that a humble quarter can turn into a life-changing discovery, this one proves it. When you look closely at this example, you can see clear surface wear across both sides. The fields are dull rather than shiny, the high points are flattened, and the edges show nicks from pocket use. There's a bit of dulling near the lettering, along with light grime that settled into the details over time. This is typical for a heavily circulated state quarter, but that worn look can actually make these coins interesting because sometimes the most valuable errors hide beneath the wear, waiting for someone careful enough to notice. This Alaska quarter is famous for a few incredible mistakes that slipped out of the mint in very tiny numbers. The biggest one is the legendary extra claw error. Only a handful were ever found, and when they first appeared, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. The market exploded. People started checking their change like hunters searching for treasure. One verified high-grade extra claw quarter sold for more than most people make in half a year, and that was before collectors started paying six-figure prices for the rarest pieces. Now imagine this same coin not in circulated condition like the one shown, but in perfect mint state. A flawless Alaska quarter with a top-tier grade can already reach tens of thousands, but at a dramatic error like a doubled strike, a rotated die, or a strong off-center strike, and suddenly you're talking about the kind of money that makes collectors sit up straight. We're talking $300,000 and even beyond when a rare error is paired with high-grade condition. It sounds impossible, but every year dozens of ordinary people stumble onto life-changing coins that were hiding right in their pockets. Even circulated examples can bring surprising prices when the error is dramatic enough. A well-worn extra claw coin has sold for several $1,000s, even with the same level of wear you see on the coin in front of you. That's why condition matters, but rarity rules the market, and the Alaska State quarter has a reputation for producing a few of the most exciting error varieties in the entire state quarter series. Something else that makes people look twice at this coin is the strong demand from collectors who want full sets. Alaska is one of the most popular designs, so even without errors, collectors still hunt for sharp strikes, clean surfaces, and early die states. A mint state Alaska quarter in MS67 or 68 can command surprisingly high bids, especially in online auctions where competition runs wild. These aren't six-figure numbers, but they can still reach well into the 4- and 5-figure range depending on timing and demand. Now here's the part that keeps collectors searching. These state quarter errors were never documented by the mint, so no one knows the exact number released. It could be a few hundred. It could be far fewer. And because so many Alaska quarters circulated heavily, countless valuable errors could still be sitting in old jars, glove compartments, or someone's laundry room coin pile. The wear on the coin doesn't kill the value. What matters is spotting the mistake, identifying it correctly, and grading it properly. So whenever you come across an Alaska quarter, especially one from 2008, take a slow look. Check for extra claws, distorted shapes, doubled letters, or anything that looks even slightly out of place. Errors don't always jump out at first glance. Sometimes they hide under years of wear, but the thrill of the hunt and the chance to uncover a six-figure payday from a coin worth just 25 cents is exactly what keeps collectors hooked. And now that you've seen what this Alaska quarter can do, let's move on because the next coin in our lineup climbs to an even higher level of rarity and value. Next up is a coin that proves you should never ignore the newer quarters in your pocket. This 2020 Weir Farm State quarter may look modern, but for collectors, it has quickly become one of the most surprising, high-value sleepers in the entire state quarters series. Before we talk numbers, let's take a closer look at the condition of the coin you're seeing. Even through the worn surfaces and the scratches that come from years of circulation, there's something important hiding underneath. The lettering is still readable, which matters more than most people realize. Serious collectors always start by checking if the details are still intact enough to identify any potential striking issues or early-stage mint errors. And on this one, the obverse shows that familiar dulling and heavy surface wear, but it also shows patches where the metal looks slightly disrupted, almost like the pressure of the strike wasn't completely even. That alone becomes interesting because weak strikes and early die wear are known to push certain 2020 quarters into a much higher price category. What makes the Weir Farm release so surprising is its timing. It came out in the middle of the period when coin circulation slowed dramatically, meaning far fewer people handled coins every day. Because of that, a huge number of these quarters went straight from the mint into storage and not into change. The ones that did circulate, like the one you're seeing now, they tend to show harder wear and unusual surface patterns because they spent less time moving through typical paths and more time sitting in damp drawers, pockets, or environments that created uneven tarnish. That's exactly why the scattered gray patches and dull high points on this example matter. They hint at the possibility that it came from one of those early batches that didn't receive a smooth strike. Collectors pay attention to these little details because they can signal a rare version worth far more than a typical 2020 quarter. Now here's where the value jumps into the kind of territory that makes your heart race. A circulated 2020 Weir Farm quarter like this with heavy wear and discoloration normally trades for pocket change. But here's the twist. If the coin carries even a minor mint error, a die crack near the rim, a misaligned strike, a strike through, or a feeder finger mark, the price can skyrocket. And this design in particular is known for a batch of coins struck with die issues early in the production run. Those coins have already sold for hundreds, then thousands, and in one shocking case, more than $12,000 for a perfectly documented rare strike. But the real punch comes when you step into uncirculated territory. A flawless mint, State 68 example of this same Weir Farm quarter stunned collectors when it climbed past $30,000, setting a new interest wave for modern quarters. And that's not even the ceiling. Experts believe that an MS69 or MS70 example with a documented die error could push into six-figure territory. It sounds impossible until you remember that modern collectors are aggressively chasing top pop coins. The rarest grade always becomes the most valuable coin of the entire year. Even more dramatic is the value placed on off-center strikes and double strike errors on 2020 quarters. One off-center Weir Farm error sold privately for more than $85,000, and specialists now say the next major discovery could break the $300,000 mark if the strike is dramatic enough and the coin survives in a clean state. That's the kind of number that turns a simple pocket quarter into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. So how do you know if your Weir Farm quarter is one of the big winners? Start by checking the rim. Look for distortions, cracks, or signs that the collar didn't hold the coin tightly during the strike. Then check the obverse, especially around the motto areas for weak letters or doubling. And finally, look for any strange surface marks that don't look like scratches, but instead resemble something pressed into the coin. During the minting process, these small clues are exactly what separate a regular 25-cent piece from a coin that could pay off a car or even a mortgage. And just like that, the 2020 Weir Farm quarter becomes another reminder that modern coins are full of surprises. As we move on to the next coin, things only get more intense and the values keep climbing higher. Moving on to the next coin, we land in the deserts of Arizona with the 2008 State Quarter, a coin that has surprised collectors again and again with hidden value that no one expects from a modern piece. At first glance, the coin you're seeing now is clearly circulated. The surface tells a long story of pocket wear, handling, and exposure to rough conditions. The high points are dulled, fine scratches run across both sides, and some areas show a cloudy texture from light corrosion. But here is the part many people miss. Circulated coins like this are often the ones hiding the strangest and most valuable mint errors. When a coin shows uneven shine or discoloration, it can sometimes signal stress from the striking process, and Arizona quarters are famous for a handful of striking problems that can push their value from pocket change into the kind of money that makes collectors sit up straight. This particular quarter shows soft edges around some of the details, which is one of the early signs of a weak strike. Weak strikes are not rare by themselves, but when combined with certain mint conditions during the 2008 production year, they can point to a die that was about to fail. And when a die is near failure, strange things happen, cracks appear, doubling becomes possible, and the pressure of the strike may not distribute evenly across the metal. These early die-state coins are exactly the types that have reached shocking prices in specialist auctions. What makes the Arizona quarter stand out is one specific error that has become legendary among collectors: the extra cactus strike-through and die clog error. This error, when perfectly preserved, has sold for tens of thousands. And experts believe a top-grade version could surpass $300,000 if it ever appears in the highest possible grading tier. Now, let's talk about why 2008 coins like this one still capture so much attention. Arizona quarters were minted at a time when modern collecting was starting to boom online, which means certain varieties were identified early and collectors began hunting aggressively for unusual strikes. As a result, almost every Arizona quarter in circulation today gets examined by someone hoping to find the one rare error that changes everything. The coin in front of you has wide patches of surface disruption on the obverse. That's not just wear, though. It's the type of uneven texture that makes collectors re-examine the coin for any sign of a strike-through. A strike-through happens when foreign material ends up between the die and the blank. During minting, it could be grease, metal shavings, or even debris, and when it happens, details collapse, flatten, or smear in ways that look like natural wear, but they are mint-made and extremely valuable. In uncirculated condition, Arizona quarters already command impressive values. A perfect MS-68 example has sold for over $10,000, and coin specialists believe that an MS-69 or MS-70 with a certified mint error could easily cross the six-figure line. That's the kind of value that turns a modern coin into a once-in-a-decade rarity. Even circulated mint errors can reach unbelievable prices. One heavily worn Arizona quarter, rougher than the coin you're seeing now, still sold for several $1,000s because the cactus error was strong and unmistakable. Collectors don't care about the wear if the error is dramatic enough. So how do you know if your Arizona State quarter is the rare, high-value type? Start by checking the right side of the reverse, especially near the cactus. Look for blobs of metal, missing details, or shapes that don't match the rest of the coin. Any unusual thickness or swelling in that area could indicate the famous die clog variety. On the obverse, look for doubling around the motto or date. Even subtle doubling on a 2008 quarter can elevate the value into serious money. And finally, check for rim breaks or cracks. Arizona quarters are known for developing die cracks near the date and lettering. Those cracks alone won't bring six figures, but paired with another error, they can push the price higher than you'd ever expect. This is why the 2008 Arizona quarter remains one of the most exciting modern coins to look for. Even a circulated piece like this can carry hidden value that escapes the untrained eye. And as we move on, things only get more intense. The next coin in our lineup pushes the limits of what collectors thought modern quarters could be worth, and the numbers reach a level that shocks even veteran dealers. And now, for the final coin in this lineup, we arrive at a piece most collectors walk right past without realizing how much money can be hiding in plain sight. This is the 2019 Lowell quarter, and the moment you look closely at the surface of this coin, you can tell it has seen years of circulation. The fields are covered with faint scratches, the edges show soft wear, and there's that light, patchy discoloration along the lower right side that instantly tells you this coin has traveled through pockets, drawers, counters, and who knows what else. But here's the twist. Coins like this with heavy circulation marks are often the ones where rare mint errors stay unnoticed for years. And with Lowell quarters, that has happened more times than people realize. This coin in front of you shows a very telling mix of dull, high points and bright low points. That uneven shine is exactly what collectors look for when checking for die polishing errors or early signs of a worn die. And Lowell quarters minted in 2019, especially those from Philadelphia, are known for some of the wildest die breaks and retained cuts of the entire America the Beautiful series. When those appear in higher grades, their values explode into the kind of numbers that leave even longtime collectors shaking their heads. But even a circulated example can be worth shocking money depending on the strength of the error. The real hunt with Lowell quarters revolves around doubled dies and strike-throughs. Some of the doubling varieties are so light that most people never catch them unless they tilt the coin under bright light. The coin you're looking at right now shows surface activity around the lettering and across the wheel spokes, small disruptions that could easily hide early-stage doubling. If a grading service confirms even moderate doubling on a 2019 Lowell quarter, the value can jump from pocket change to several $1,000s instantly. But that's not even the top tier. A high-grade double-die Lowell quarter in near-perfect condition is already known to sell in the $20,000 range, And specialists believe that a true MS-69 or MS-70 with a dramatic error, the kind still undiscovered, could push past $300,000, making it one of the highest value modern quarters ever found. One thing that makes this particular coin exciting is the discoloration pattern across the lower area. That's exactly where metal shaving strike-throughs have appeared on documented high-value Lowell errors. On some coins, the foreign material blocked the die just enough to distort the lower inscriptions and part of the wheel. When this happens, the struck-through area often has a different texture from the rest of the coin, and the patchy look here hints at something the naked eye might miss. Even if this coin doesn't have a full strike-through error, collectors love early die state polish marks in these areas. Those alone, when confirmed, can bring in hundreds to thousands depending on severity. Lowell quarters also have a surprising number of die chips, especially around the lettering. A strong die chip on the 2019 design can look like a raised blob or lump, and some of the larger documented examples have sold for huge premiums. Even small chips are desirable if they appear in known locations, and the coin you're seeing now shows several softened edges where chips often form. If even one of those is a mint-made chip rather than normal wear, the value jumps immediately. In perfect uncirculated condition, Lowell quarters already attract strong attention. The finest examples have sold for over $5,000, and the record breakers with errors have reached beyond $50,000. But the real shock comes from the theoretical top-grade errors. Experts agree that the right combination, a clean double die, a dramatic strike-through, or an early die break, could cross six figures without hesitation. That's why collectors keep searching these coins even 10 years after release. So with this last coin, the message is simple. Don't underestimate modern coins. The wear, the marks, the dullness, none of that tells the full story. A circulated 2019 Lowell quarter might look ordinary, but if it has the right error, it becomes the kind of jackpot that changes someone's entire view on coin collecting. And with the amount of activity happening on the surface of this piece, it absolutely deserves a second look under magnification. This brings our series of valuable state quarters to a close, but the thrill of the hunt never ends, and trust me, some of the most unbelievable discoveries are still out there, hiding in spare change, waiting for someone like you to find them.